I'm the one that brought this topic forward, asking that staff provide us with some information so that we can have a broad conversation about the legislation that passed in the state legislature relating to the ban on assault weapons and whether or not that legislation has implications for those that we regulate here at the Gambling Commission. Whether or not any of our regulations need to be adjusted, or if there actually is a policy question that we commissioners might want to address. So at this point, it's just information gathering and discussion from my point of view, Madam Chair.
Okay, great. And I know Executive Director Griffin had done the information gathering, but I believe she had to leave to try to help Commissioner Ibsen get on the technical difficulties. So,
well, here she comes.
Oh, here she is. Sorry. So, Director Griffin, Vice Chair Patterson was just saying, we were doing some information gathering on the firearms. Sorry.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Chair, Commissioners. So you saw, you have the letters that have come in, and I did put together a memo. Since this is a discussion and this is not a rule discussion, this is just a discussion on a topic that commissioners requested to have a discussion on. It was my understanding that you were seeking some sort of policy memo. I tried to pull together all the parts and pieces that I thought were questions from the last month. So you have in your packet a definition as an attachment A of substitute House Bill 1240, which includes in that the very long definition of assault rifle, or excuse me, assault weapon. Then there was some questions about what the court challenge is to the substitute House Bill 1240. And according to the AGO's website, while there is some court challenges, no court has held any part of substitute House Bill 1240 to be unconstitutional. So again, at this point, the law is in effect until that occurs. And I have, and so that information is pulled directly off the AGO's website. In terms of where we stand with our current rule regarding awarding firearms as a prize, Block 230-06025, it is my read of the rule that what is only authorized by the state or federal laws can only be issued as a firearm as a prize. So I am not reading that RCW 41390, which is part of the substitute House Bill 1240. There are exceptions, right? First of all, 941-390 prohibits any person in the state from manufacturing, importing, distributing, selling, or offering for sale any assault weapon. And there are some exceptions which are in your attachments, C and D, but those exceptions do not include awarding a firearm, an assault weapon as a prize in exchange for as a raffle prize. So licensed firearm dealers would be, first of all, I don't even think in my read of 941, I don't even think there can be an assault weapon that a licensed firearm dealer, though I'm not extremely well versed in this RCW, but it was my read of the bill that licensed firearm dealers couldn't even have those in stock any further in Washington State 90 days after the bill went into effect. So if a licensed firearm dealer did get a certificate to award somebody an assault weapon in the state of Washington as a prize, that firearms dealer would be in violation then, according to my read, of 941-390, which has criminal penalties. So I'm summarizing by saying I believe that the rule currently requires the awarding of a prize to be in compliance with all other WACs and RCWs of the state of Washington. Now, there is also, I attached the history of WAC 230-06-025. There's been very little changes to the rule. And then we did in 2019 verify the licensed federal firearms process for awarding firearms as a prize through the certificate process to verify that licensed firearm dealers in Rocky Mountain Elk did follow that process and making sure that the transfer was in accordance with state and federal law. So that is, unless you have any questions for me, that is, I think there was one more outstanding question and that I didn't put in here is if you did seek to make any sort of rule change, whether it would be a repeal or an amendment, just as with any other topic, you can initiate that by a motion, and then obviously a majority of 3 is needed to put that into play. So if you did want to initiate for repeal or amendment or any sort of rulemaking, the process would be the same. You would just need to indicate to staff, what it is that you would want to amend if you did choose to go in that direction. Any questions?
So if the court challenged, the legislation is currently being challenged, and if that challenge is successful, then does a state legislature ban weapons? And we'll go back to that. At that point, is there something that this body could do that would affect our current regulating industry? So in other words, let's repeal. Can we still decide that entities?
Could you turn on your microphone, please?
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
Not used to this system here. Apologize.
So I think the question was, in summary, if the commission were to repeal the rule that authorizes firearms to be issued as a prize. No. It was, sorry, one more time. If the assault weapon bill were to be found unconstitutional,
Yes.
and we amended the bill and we amended the rule?
Well, right now, whatever state law is applies to the situation that we're responsible for. But if that law is repealed, then what can we do to move forward?
So if that law is repealed, then charitable nonprofit organizations could offer assault weapons because they become authorized in the state again.
Okay. So at this time, they're not authorized to be able to do that. But if the bill is found to be unconstitutional, they could move forward with that. And then what could we do to prevent that?
You could repeal the rule. You could put certain parameters around what type of weapons you would want to have be awarded as a prize.
So we essentially could take parts of the legislation that are now being challenged at the court, and we could incorporate them into rulemaking.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Griffin?
Sure. So it sounds to me that our rule, there was no exception made for raffles to allow for a firearm that was described in the legislation. Um, so our rule changed when this bill became law, because what was legally able to be transferred changed. Is that accurate?
Yes, because the rules currently state that if the prize awarded from state or federal, so the 941 is going to be
quite a few years, but state or federal law has been changing, and therefore the parameters around that have shifted over time.
So, yeah, so I guess I'm just going to use pens, blue, black, and red pens. At one point, you could get any one of them, and our rule said that you could get a certificate for a pen. Our rule still says you can get a certificate for a legal pen. And then since that period of time, red and black pens are no longer legal pens. So now, although our rule hasn't changed, you can't get a red or a blue pen through a raffle. You can still get the whatever black pens that are still legal. Is that, I mean, that's just utilizing a simple object. I happen to just have one in my hand.
We're into a hypothetical that I'm struggling with a little. Generally, yes. All right.
Okay.
So
Fair enough.
at
You
a
don't have to go
high
any further. That's fair enough.
hypothetical level.
Okay. Thank you.
potentially That would be one way to look at it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Or I can go to the public comment. We did have a couple people sign up this one. Okay. Let's see, Ryan Bronson, are you here? Okay. Crux Trouble virtually. It looks like maybe you're just answering questions too, or did you want to testify?
Yeah, I would like to make a statement if that's all right. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, my name is Kirk Struble. I'm the regional director with Ducks Unlimited for East and Southwest Washington. As such, a lot of my day-to-day and my work with the volunteers is actually dependent on raffling firearms. Nonprofit organizations, especially ones that are like Ducks Unlimited, where the vast majority of our members and supporters that come to our events are hunters and outdoors people. They're typically blue collar people. The draw for the opportunity to win a firearm, which is almost in every circumstance a hunting firearm, a rifle, a shotgun, something like that, is a big draw for our events, and it is a huge moneymaker to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, at least for DU in the state of Washington. And I know I won't speak for other organizations, but I know that to be true for a lot of the other nonprofits in the outdoor and hunting spaces as well. Furthermore, there are implications with things like the Pittman-Robertson Act, which is an excise tax that firearms manufacturers pay when they transfer a firearm. So it is paid on the manufacturer's end. Should we be prohibited from raffling firearms? That would impact WDFW's budget extensively. I believe in 2021, they were awarded $8.1, maybe $8.3 million in Pittman Robertson's funds from the sale and transfer of firearms. Furthermore, Ducks Unlimited has an annual ask over the last 5 or 6 years. We've needed to raise $2.2 million to do the funding or to get the funding for the work that we do in the state of Washington. And again, I'd just like to reiterate that raffling firearms are a critical means of us being able to raise those funds. And then the last thing that I'll say is we are always in compliance with state and federal law when it comes to the firearms that we offer and how they are transferred. If an individual wins, they are required to get that firearm from a federally licensed firearms dealer. They have to pass all the background checks. They have to meet every aspect of the laws that have been passed in Washington, which now includes things like taking a safety course and certifying that they've done so. And there is no workaround to that. For example, I believe in the last meeting, Vice Chair Patterson mentioned the hypothetical of someone getting a certificate and being able to maybe go to Idaho to get a firearm that they couldn't get in Washington. Federal firearms license dealers will not transfer a gun that is not allowed to be owned in Washington to a Washington resident from another state. So that's really all I have. I'm happy to answer any questions should any commissioners have one too. I'll do it to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Just to clarify, Kirk, I believe, so you were discussing with the taxes all firearms, right? And I think Commissioner Patterson, were you focusing on assault weapons or all firearms, or where is this discussion heading?
This discussion might be over unless, it kind of depends on you three because my tenure is up here in a few months. But I don't know if you want to do something proactively to prevent organizations from raffling guns or raffling assault weapons in case this court challenge is successful. If you wanted to do that, I don't know, or if you just wanted to wait and see what happens. I have a point of view about the proliferation of firearms in American society, and I just didn't want to play a role in expanding that here as a gambling commissioner. For years, we've been passing rules affecting the raffles that occur for Rocky Mountain Elk and Ducks Unlimited. I must admit that for many years, it didn't dawn on me that they were raffling a lot of guns. Because I'm not a part of that culture, I didn't think about it. And it just, I wondered if I had been somehow or other complicitly adding to the extraordinary horrific burden on our American society of the availability of assault weapons and weapons that can kill many people by one person in one place. I wondered why these organizations had to make their money on guns. I mean, are Ducks Unlimited and Rocky Mountain Elk, is there anything else that their members might be interested in seeing at a raffle besides more guns? These are the thoughts that went through my mind because I have a point of view. But then I learned from staff that the state legislature has addressed this to a certain extent. So I thought it would be an interesting topic for us to hear more about. That's it.
Anyone have anything else they'd like to add?
No, I appreciate all the, sorry, thank you, Bud.
No? Yep.
I appreciate all the work that staff has done on this, as well as the information that has been provided by the nonprofits. I still want to go through this a little bit more thoroughly, but for today, I don't have any questions.
Okay, what do you mean? I go through it, you want to keep it open? Or-
I think we can fairly close it for today. I just want to have more time with the materials.
Okay, so you want to put it on a future agenda?
Perhaps, yes.
Let me know. I'll come sit in the audience when you do that.
So, okay,
And I'll clarify that comment only by saying that I think that there's an opportunity here for the commission in our rules to be more clear. But I want to make sure that that's exactly what I'm reading here in light of what our rule says and what the RCW says.
all right. So, Commissioner Sizemore,
Sure.
pressure.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. So, and I wanna, and I appreciate the dialogue, the conversation, and, you know, the proponents of current policy, the information that they provided to us. I just want to make sure that we don't get outside of our lane or ahead of the legislature on the topic. So, there's a debate to be had on whether that's the best path forward or not. You know, should we need to, we can have that discussion at a later time. But I want to, you know, I think there are a lot of issues already, big old agenda today, you know, and I would imagine going forward. So I think the legislature put in a tremendous amount of work last year. I think I saw about 80 to 100 amendment proposals during the process last year. And I know at least one or two of them included like an effort to allow these named weapons to be able to still be in raffles, and the legislature denied those amendments. So I think that I think our rule works with, you know, making sure that it's a legally obtainable firearm in the state. So I don't think that we've created a loophole, and so that I think we're okay right now.
Okay, great. So, I guess what we'll do is just kind of move on. You know, I very much am on the side of Commissioner Patterson with not wanting to feel like we're doing harm by putting more firearms of any sort out into the public, but I understand your positions that we're in line with the legislation and, you know, keeping it at that for now. And so perhaps we just kind of watch what happens and keep our eyes and ears open. And once you get done reading the statutes better, if you want to bring this back to the table, we can do that. But
Thank you, Madam Chair.
thank you. Appreciate the staff for gathering all the information, comments that were made.